Viewers, welcome back to Rise and Shine Your Life here on Tobago Channel 5. At this time, we're chatting with Ms. Christlyn Moore, the interim political leader of the Tobago Forwards. Good morning and welcome to you, Ms. Moore.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me, and good morning, Tobago.
Now, Ms. Moore, you were on set with us about a week and a half ago, just about 2 weeks average, just around the time when the Tobago Forwards, in fact, was officially launched, officially formed. We did ask the question back then about the relationship between the Tobago Forwards and the TOP, as most of the members would have come out of the TOP to form the Tobago Forwards. 2 weeks later, what is the current position between yourself as interim leader and the political leader of the TOP, Mr. Jack?
Well, really, there is no relationship between the TOP and the Tobago Forwards at this time. Consequently, there is no need for a relationship between myself and Mr. Jack at this time. I do agree with you that the membership of the Forwards would have come, at least in part, out of the membership of the TOP. It's a natural attrition, it's a natural evolution of the political process. People move across political parties reorganize themselves, they take on different iterations, different forms, and we've seen this before. So this is certainly nothing new, and I think it is a normal, natural evolution of the political process, which should be embraced and really shouldn't be feared.
Okay.
And what it means is that the Tobago electorate has additional choices, and certainly in any economy, whether it's a political economy or a financial economy, more choice is never a bad thing.
All right. Now, we did ask the question back then about the Tobago Forwards presenting itself for the general elections 2015. Your thoughts on that?
Well, again, we are organizing the party. Certainly it is a political party, it's a political organization, and any political organization that does not represent itself in the political fracas is nothing more than a pressure group. The Forwards are in fact a political organization, a registered political party, and will be presenting a slate for the upcoming general elections. We anticipate we have about 8 or 9 months if they are called when constitutionally due, but even if there is a surprise pulled out of the proverbial back pocket, we will certainly be ready.
Okay, you mentioned that previously that Tobago has additional choices, but we've seen here where since the last THA elections, the TOP has actually split into 3, the ILP, the Forwards, and the TOP.
Well, that's interesting. And if one is analyzing that, if you are having continued splits in one political party, to me it speaks to a leadership issue.
Sure.
It speaks to a leadership issue if your party continues to deteriorate into smaller and smaller factions or different factions. And that is an issue no doubt the TOP will address in time, because all these things in time evolve. And what we see now is only a small fraction of what will eventually happen.
But it's not to be addressed by the TOP, it's supposed to be addressed by the 3 factions, the TOP, the ILP faction.
Well, I don't think so, you know. I don't see the Forwards as a faction of the TOP. I don't see the Forwards as a part of the TOP at all. As far as we are concerned, the TOP is an organization by themselves. Whether they are a live organization or a dead organization is for the electorate to decide. But we don't see ourselves as a part of that organization. Notwithstanding,
having come from,
we may have started with that organization, but we have evolved. There is certainly space in the landscape for something new, and the events of 2012 tells us that the Tobago population want something new. The Tobago's population's electorate's tastes have changed. The electorate's demands have changed. And it is clear to me that this was not recognized by that political party. And the electorate spoke to that. So that I can't agree with being a faction or a part, or they are another entity who no doubt will speak for themselves in their own political time.
Now, we've gone through this in the past where some of the members of the Tobago Forwards have indicated some issues that they were not pleased with or were not happy with within the Tobago Organization of the People Party, thus causing the move forward to constructing the Tobago Forwards.
Andy, you know what? I am not sure I want to use my time talking about Tobago Forwards, talking about the Tobago Organization of the People. It isn't fair to the Forwards to really rehash what is old ground. Mr. Jack is in your waiting room. He can speak to all the problems of the Tobago Organization of the People, and there are many, so that I will leave that issue to him. What I would like to concentrate on is what is the mission and the vision and the purpose of the Tobago Forwards.
Which is where I was heading. Great. Which is where I was heading. So with all the issues that have come up, what would the Tobago Forwards be doing differently from what it was exposed to previously?
Yes, well, what we would want to offer is service and accountability. I think those were the two issues that stood out greatly for us in the events leading up to and after 2012. The opportunity to serve. If you're offering yourself a political life, you have to be available to serve. You have to be accountable to the people who you say you want to serve. And by accountability, part of accountability is accessibility. That was certainly a huge issue coming up after 2012. In fact, I am heartened that other political leaders on the landscape can now be seen in public and appearing on talk shows. Certainly that has not happened since 2012. So that in terms of the Forwards, what we want to present is service. We are available to serve, and we are accountable in a win, we are accountable in a loss, and we are accountable in a draw. And the Tobago people can call us to account. The other matter we want to present is family and service. Family and future, rather. The Tobago family is under a lot of pressure. And from the youngest to the eldest, our young people are under pressure from crime. The horrible incident at RC demonstrates that it's not the first. Our young people are under pressure. Our young ones are under pressure. The hospitals, the recent incidents in maternal deaths and baby deaths demonstrate quite clearly that the hospital may not be a safe place for our very young. The schools are not a safe place for our very young. Our old people are under threat. Whether they're visitors or they're residents, they're under threat from crime. Our young people, 18 to 35, are under threat. What is their future? Do they have the same opportunities as their counterparts with similar qualifications in Trinidad? No, they do not. Part of the chasm between Trinidad and Tobago has to be because our earning power is eroded by inflationary pressures and by simple cost of living pressures. So we may earn the same amount of money, but we have less buying power. That compromises our ability to provide for a family and to steer a clear future for a family. If the persons who offer themselves a political office are not prepared to address the concerns of the Tobago family, then Tobago will die.
Okay. In terms of the mission of the Tobago Forwards, what is the Forwards mission?
We see our mission at this point as family, future, service, accountability. It has to be. Tobago tends to see itself as anti-Trinidad. And when we view ourselves like that, we step out of anything that's going on in Trinidad. But the Tobago electorate has evolved. The Tobago electorate not only requires that you have a voice in Tobago, but you must have a national voice. You must have a regional voice. And currently the pressures that the electorate is responding to in Trinidad and in Tobago is one cry. It is corruption and accountability. Civil society all over Trinidad is calling for accountability and complaining about corruption. We have to do the same. not only when we see it in Tobago, but when we see it on a national landscape. And so a new political party must be prepared to agitate against corruption and offer itself as the paragon of accountability. And that is where we are.
But has that agitation started?
I think it has, you know. I think it has. The Forwards have clearly and consistently since their launch started or continued articulating their position against government corruption. For example, we have grave concerns which are expressed in the Tobago space with regard to the purchase of those 2 derelict hotels. The question is not so much price tag, but these are public funds. So if it's $1 and there is no accountability, then we have a problem. But more than that, these hotel projects failed. Why did they fail? Why will they now succeed? What is the long-term plan? Is it simply another land bank maneuver by the THA, who sees its only role in the Tobago space as buying land to save our heritage, as if our heritage is only about the THA banking land? When you have such a limited vision and you do not articulate even that limited vision to the population, then we have concerns. And we demand that the THA say to us, what is your plan for all this land you're buying? Because as far as we are concerned, all you're doing is alienating land from the very Tobagonians you claim to want to help.
Okay.
Right now,
the leadership issue,
Yes.
you are the interim political
Yes.
leader. When would this become permanent? Do you intend
Yes.
to go into the election with an interim leader?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
When can we expect
You can expect an election in about 3 months. I would say February to March, you can expect an election by then. This is not my party. I have no interest in being a maximum leader. I have no interest in taking the party home and closing my door and telling persons who have really spent time and interest in evolving that you can't play in my party anymore. So that you can expect an election in about 3 months, and this is only to allow us to finalize the Constitution. This is only to allow us to finalize the arms of the party so that there can be so there can be a complete management transition and the membership can be presented with an entire package. That is really where we are.
So you would come with all the rules of the party at that time?
From beginning to end. We will not be presented with a situation where we have a constitution that says less than it says more, that it has more holes than pages. We are really about presenting a complete picture to the people of Tobago.
now, Ms. Moore, there are those who are saying that the members of the Forwards should have held on to the TOP and should not have given up as they did. But what I'm saying here is that you know, you've seen internal wranglers within the PNM, and there's never been a separation. There's never been a breaking away.
That's true.
And you've always seen the PNM stand strong through all the years.
Yes.
There's just some who are saying that the Tobago, those members of the Forwards should have held on, even until Mr. Jack was ready to come back, even if he stepped down later on. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I could give you my personal view. My personal view is that you can't nurse a dead horse back to health. That is my personal view. The other matter is this. We were in the invidious position of supporting an organization, working in an organization that would not really allow us to serve, because you cannot serve if the arms of the organization is not working, if the executive cannot be summoned, if the party machinery has been hijacked. You really can't serve. What you could do is wait. But in Trinidad and Tobago, we are really on 2-year election cycles. We have 2 years national election, then next 2 years you have THA elections, then you have a 1 year in there you might have local government. We are on a constant election cycle. So the question then is, what are we waiting for. It now becomes a war of attrition. What are we presenting people with? Where is the leadership? Where is the vision? Where is the plan? Where are the programs? Who is meeting? Who is working? Who is walking? And there was no opportunity to do that in the configuration of the TOP as it existed. I think members did quite well to have tried to continue with their support, particularly after 2012. But we are in December 2014 with no end in sight. You have a political leader who I refer to as a political leader holding over, meaning your term has come to an end, and like in a lease, you have a tenant who you can't evict. You have a tenant who is not moving out, so he's holding over. How is that setting an example? How is that saying to the electorate, to your followers, that I am accountable? That is critical, you know. How is that providing inspired leadership? Perhaps it is, but in my view, it was a difficult matter to support. But I think the members who stayed have something to contribute to the Tobago landscape, and that's what it's all about.
Now, we see as well here, Miss Moore, persons from the ILP, or let me say from another party, jumping back ship, so to speak, to join, once was a member of the TOP, jumped ship with the ILP, now jumping ship to come across with the Tobago Forwards. What does it say? What does it say to the stability of the party?
Well, I wasn't aware
members?
that we have a former ILP person, but I'll say this. Candy, you know what? People, because we are a small society, and I don't necessarily mean Tobago, I mean Trinidad and Tobago. We are a small society by any count. And a lot of our politics is inherited politics. So it's the politics of our parents and the politics of our grandparents. Sometimes you have shifts on the margin that the education system brings about. But because our politics is ancestral politics, we feel very strongly, we are very worried when people make decisions to move across what we see as lines that cannot be crossed. But you know, we live in a global village, and one of the things about living in a global village is that you have choice. Today you could eat chicken, and tomorrow you could eat pork, and the next day you could eat chicken again. That is the value of a democracy. So if somebody is not happy with the political iteration that they find themselves supporting, they are free to move, and they shouldn't be castigated for that. But I take your point that persons looking on are legitimately entitled to ask whether or not this is a stable organization. I think that is a good point. And my answer to that is this: time will have to tell. How do you judge a new organization? Because there's no track record. So how do you judge? My suggestion is that you look at the persons who offer themselves up for leadership. And if these are people you know, you ask yourself, what do I know of this person's character? What do I know of this person's personal track record? Can I trust this person? And if your answers to those questions are yes, it should provide you with a measure of comfort.
Okay. Legal matters. Just last week, Thursday, there was a matter being contested between Dr. Baker and others and Mr. Jack.
Yes.
And that was brought, as I heard, to an end.
Yes.
Right? What is the effect of that on your party? Mr. Jack said that he wanted to see what direction the party was going in. He was convinced, or he's convinced now, that seeing the other parties formed, he withdrew the claim or the matter or something.
Well, again, you know, in politics, spin is important. And I suppose this is no different than anything else. As you know, the Tobago Organization of the People took the unprecedented political move of suing 3 of its members, one of its executive members who sits in the parliament as a representative of the TOP. And it sued those members, including a sitting minister. It sued a sitting minister for using the symbol of the party. Now that, to my mind, is insanity. How can a party which fielded a candidate who is successful, who holds a cabinet position and sits in government, how can that party sue that member of parliament, that minister, for representing the very party? So that was the lawsuit, the matrix of the lawsuit. Good sense ultimately prevailed and it was withdrawn, not without the court voicing its disappreciation of its time being wasted by ordering costs against the TOP. Again, very, very embarrassing, very unprecedented, and all these things, to my mind, speak to questions about leadership, questions about good decision making, and back to your first point, you raise a matter of the PNM being a united party. In the annals of the PNM, I can't recall Eric Williams ever chairing a decision to sue a sitting member of parliament. That is not how you discipline membership, if you feel you have a legitimate discipline issue. So again, strange decisions in my view, but ultimately, as I said, good sense prevailed, and the matter was wisely withdrawn before, it was dismissed.
Okay. The concept of the logo, this is a final question here, the concept of the logo, where did the concept of this particular, I think we've got a picture of it here, the concept of the logo come from?
The logo is a combination of, you remember having a cassette player when you were younger. Young people don't know about cassette players anymore.
Yes.
And you remember the forward button.
Fast forward.
Fast forward. So that really it is directional in nature. It looks like an arrow. It looks like a forward button, and really tells you. It speaks to our future as a people. It speaks to our desire to wish to move. It's not static. We are moving. We are indicating the direction that we're moving. We're indicating the speed with which we are moving. And certainly that is what we want to offer Tobago. We want to offer some momentum.
And the colors, the particular colors used?
Well, no representation of Tobago would be accurate without what surrounds us, which is water. And the gold color, again, which you see in the logo there.
Oh, it's gold?
It's gold.
Not yellow?
No, it's not yellow, it's gold.
Okay, I'm just clearing that up.
So it's blue and gold, and really the gold speaks to the royalty of our people. And our vision for really providing excellence in this landscape.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Ms. Moore. Closing comments from you very quickly.
The Tobago Forwards is accepting applications for membership. If you look at our Facebook page, more data will be provided. Our official launch, our media launch is going to come up shortly. Forward teams are mobilizing, and we're encouraging Tobago to ask more questions and look out for us. We are certainly very interested in providing additional choice on the Tobago landscape.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Ms. Christlyn Moore, interim political leader of the Tobago Forwards. Viewers, we will take a break. We've got no Rise and Shine morning news this morning. News will be preempted just for today. We've got coming up just after a break, Mr. Ashworth Jack, political leader of the TOP. Stay tuned. Join us just after this.